Wow, just at first glance, this looks full. Hey folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. It's Sunday, August 18th, and I just wanted to start my video in here, show you a couple things I got going on out here in the barn before I get down on the hives. Got one little hive I want to work on before it gets too hot, and get some feed out on some of the ones that I've been feeding, some weaker hives that need more honey stores in there. So you can see I've been bottling a little bit, and got my bottling tank. I did talk to John Hill. He's sending me another valve, and he said that's an old one and that he was going to send me a newer one that had a different part on there, and he wants me to send that one back, so he'll probably refurb that one. So just a quick follow-up on that, and it is seeping a little bit around that little top fitting there, but it's not too bad. But anyway, let me flip the camera around. I'll show you what I got going on out here real quick, and then we'll get down to the hives. So I show you the last video, the casters I had. So I got those put on. They were real easy to put on. I just lifted the leg up and slid right in there, and they fit nice. And man, the thing rolls around great. Yeah, it's got locks on each one. Just push that down till it snaps, and it won't move. But so on this kind of linoleum-like floor, plus the material that caster is made of, it does kind of still slide. But that's okay. It's not going to move around much when I'm working with it, and when they're all locked down, it's fairly solid. So I still got my cappings in here in this big one, but if you remember from my prior video, I had a gray man leg small one that I dug them all out of here and put in that just to store them. So I got those out here now, and I just got them in the roaster oven getting those things melted. Let's take a look at what they look like. Also, the big nasty wax balls, I got them strained out through a t-shirt. There's the t-shirt there with crap stuck all to it. So I strained it out through that into this melting pot right here and filled this block right here. I'll peel that out of here. I'll get my tripod going here and show you what this looks like. All right, see if I can get this out of here. I did put mold release on this. It's a Carney 1080 paintable mold release. There you go. So you can see that's a lot darker color of wax than what I normally get. So there's wax cappings wax, and that's from the wax balls from the inspections. Quite a bit darker, but this will roll out nice when I melt it onto my plastic frames to get them coated so the bees will accept them a lot better. So in here, I've got that big old Man Lake container of wax cappings. So this was heaped up full, and I pushed them all in there, and it's all melted now. I need to turn that down a little bit. So I'm going to get my strainer and strain out this little bit of junk that's in there. So even when you have the pure just wax cappings from harvesting honey, you're still going to get a fair amount of impurities in there that you're not going to want. Get all that wax out of here that we can. And then I'll just drop this into the trash can. Now there'll be a little bit of wax in this, and you could spend a lot of time trying to get that little bit of wax out of there. It's just not worth it to me. You could like press it. Before my plastic spoon busted off, I would press it with that. Oh, here's a little spoon I could use maybe. Little bits coming out, not much. But you don't have much time to mess around with this because it starts solidifying on you because it's melted wax. All right, that's good. Okay, that's basically it for the wax for now. Gonna let this cool off. It's floating on water. There's a gallon of water in here, so this will solidify, and then I will scrape off the bottom of it where there's any junk sticking to the bottom of the chunk of wax we're gonna have. And then I'll filter it into another melter, and I'll put this into 1 ounce bars instead of that 1 pound. I might do a couple of 1 pounds, I don't know. Anyway, let's get outside and get to working on the bees before it gets too hot. It's 85 degrees right now, and it's 8:30 a.m. Okay, down here in the bee yard real quick, I want to explain what I'm going to do. I got this Hive 10, and if you may remember earlier in the season, that was my double aame nuke, and I just never could get either side going. I finally reduced or combined it into one 7-frame nuke, and it seemed to be limping along okay. And I got some virgin queens started, never came back from mating. It never got going. So I dropped a Wildflower Meadows queen in there, and that's when I had the issue with UPS. Tried to melt my queens and basically ruined them. Wildflower Meadows sent me 3 new queens, and so I put one of them back into that aame, and I've since then moved it into a 10-frame deep with a feeder on top. However, it doesn't have 10 frames in it. I think it has 5, maybe 6. So I brought me some old roached out frames that are culls, but they're not going to draw out any comb. So I could steal comb from another hive or use these, and they're just going to use this to store the sugar water that I've been feeding them, so they'll start building up stores so they can survive winter. So I've got 4 of these. I'm going to get in there, and I might try and find a frame of brood from somewhere else to help boost them up. So they're failing to grow very much, and I don't know why. Well, it was in the dearth when the new queen went in. There's not a lot of nectar or pollen coming in at all, so they're just surviving, you know, hand to mouth. So that's what's going on there. I did get the feeder on there last week, and I put a little piece of pollen patty in there, and I brought some more with me to, if it's okay, if it doesn't have small hive beetle larva in that little piece of pollen patty, I'll go ahead and give them some more. And but before I get in there, I want to go down to the last 2 hives, the pissy hives from southwest Oklahoma, or western Oklahoma. And I put, so when I collected honey down there, I had 2 supers that had very little in them. So knowing that those 2 hives were very strong, I just went ahead and left those supers on those 2 real strong hives from western Oklahoma that are here now. Very strong hives and very pissy. They have chilled out a lot since they've got here. I noticed my alfalfa field, not mine, but it's 2 miles to the south of me, is starting to bloom again. We had 7 inches of rain Sunday and over the weekend and last weekend. So things are super green. Everyone's mowing again, and yeah, that was great. My creek's flowing again, so I got my water going on my garden off the creek again, so I'm not on the city water now for that. So I want to get down there and check on those supers and see where they're at on those. And so I want to do that first, and then we'll get over here to Hive 10. Let's get going. Okay, here's where we're at, down on the north set of hives. These are the higher numbered hives I've got. So this is 20 through 40. So there's 39 and 40. And these came from my father-in-law's place out in western Oklahoma. Yeah, so my father-in-law is no longer able to care for these, and my brother-in-laws were out there mowing after I did that inspection that day, and riled them up. It's a pretty good video. I've never had bees attack me as much as these did that day, but they were just covering my veil, and is a good testament to this guardian bee jacket, that's for sure. Anyway, they are out there mowing and they got attacked after that, so they said, hey man, you might want to move these out of here. So here they are, still keeping them as like they're his hives, and they're right here. So let's see how much, if they've put any honey in these two supers. All right, got one of my Hive Alive tools. They sent me these tools, and they're better than the silver ones I had with the J-hook, and the reason why is this tip is just right. Some are too sharp, some are too dull, and this one is perfect. And the ones that are too sharp, when you put them between your boxes to break them apart, sometimes you'll miss and you'll get into the grain and you'll mess up the corner of your box. This one is just right. It's like an old yellow one that I have on the tip that I like to use all the time. It's the same as that. So these are my go-to now. Check them out. Let's see, the really pissy one I think is this one here, but they're both pretty bad historically. But like I said, they have been getting better. And the queen out of this one is actually in this hive right next to me right here. I've moved her twice, and man, she's a laying machine. All that propolis. When I'm selling my honey, some people are saying, do you sell propolis? And I'm like, no, I throw it away because it's disgusting. And you know, pure propolis isn't bad, but this up here, it's full of like bee chunks and whatnot. Sometimes I'll get some nice chunks in, you know, when I clean out in the springtime after winter, and there'll be a big chunk on the entrance. Wow. Just at first glance, this looks full. Holy cow. These bees may be rank, but they are some foraging machines. Would you look at that? This is completely full. Now, granted, that's not capped. I could throw another super on here. I'm not gonna though. Let's get out on the edge. So these were supers that I pulled off another hive over to the right that they didn't touch this one. That's completely full and uncapped. Can you believe that? These other hives aren't doing anything like that, I guarantee you. Oh, the genetics and the strength of this hive is very good, but they're temperamental, not so much. That's something else. I figured I'd see a little bit in there, but not full. So maybe they are making it to that alfalfa, because there's been no forage around here. So these hives filled 5 supers. One had 3, the other had 2. Plus I pulled a good size split out of this one. So I think this is the one that I had 2 supers on. I'd have to go back and look. Well, this one's a different story. Not near as strong, but it was a queen right hive. I'd go down there and do a queen right check, but it is just too hot, and I'm out here in the direct sunlight on this one. So I'm just gonna go with it. Plus this super here was probably not all drawn out, but look, what's drawn is filled. So maybe that's the deal. They're just not filling it. They're not drawing comb, but they're filling what's drawn. And yeah, see fall honey. See how dark that is? And that's gonna be some really good flavored stuff. I did find in my cabinet 2 quarts of 2020 fall honey, and I tasted it and it is outstanding. Man, it is hot. All right, let's get over to Hive 10. Man, it is so much better over here in the shade. Unbelievable difference. If you're starting out beekeeping, you might consider strategically placing your hives where you can get a little bit of shade when you're going to work them. Now, hives in the shade will attract more small hive beetles, but strong hives can control them. I don't have any problems, but I do have small hive beetles here and there. Weak hives like this, you got to keep your eye on them, especially when you're going in with pollen patties. So here's my, this is a Man Lake style feeder that I get from them. So I put nectar in one side. Actually, I put a little bit in one side, and I see small hive beetle larvae. But their pollen patty's gone. See them little suckers? And there's some over here too. So they probably, as the bees cleaned up that pollen patty, that little bitty piece I put in here for them, small hive beetle larvae probably got up in this feeder for protect, so the bees can't get to them. But I can get to them. You know what I'm going to do? Have us a small hive beetle larva roast. Given that's plastic, I don't want to. Oh, that works great. Just a little touch on them and they're done for. All right. Hank Hill would have been proud I used propane. I'm going to shake these out because I'm going to switch feeders. I'm going to put on one of my aame feeders that are new. I really like them. And they seem to keep ants out. Okay, we got 6 frames. It looks pretty good. So I had a little piece of pollen patty right here and it's gone. So that's a good sign. They're consuming that, so that's probably going to get that queen laying a little bit more. And if I can get her to like do some serious laying. So here's a little bit of our nectar in here from her feeding. And there's nectar there as well. And here. And this is looking like, yeah, so our queen's laid right in here. So she's laying more now. So that feed I gave her last week and that little pollen patty piece gave her a boost. And she's laying now more. So here's our old brood pattern from a week ago that's capped now. So we got capped brood. We got larvae and eggs out to the outside. So she is doing a much better job. They just needed some resources, is all they needed. They were just limping along. Well, where's my queen? Hopefully I'll see her here. Nope. So I don't see eggs here yet, but it looks to me like that's ready for her. It's all shiny. Okay. Where's my queen? She's marked too. She's green. That looks kind of blue to me. I bet she was on that other frame I pulled out first. I didn't notice her. Well, I don't see her. Right down in there. Underneath that slat on that slatted rack. I bet you that's where she went when I pulled the lid off. All right, let me go grab the pollen patty, which I left at the barn. I got to walk all the way up there in this blazing heat and get it. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Got my little piece of pollen patty that's maybe, I'd say less than 1/4 of a Hive Alive pollen patty. And this is my new aame feeder. I really like this. This is awesome. So it seals better than the other aame feeders that come with their hives. This little piece here fits better into where the syrup goes, and I believe it keeps the black ants out. Now those little bitty ants, they can probably still get in there, but I think this will keep the black ants out. And also it has right here where you put your pollen patty. Nothing can get at it from the top, only the bottom. And the bees can travel in and out of this part. The liquid part, they can just come in on each end and get the liquid. So another good thing about this is they can feed from the front or the back. And if your hive's leaning to the front, they'll still be able to get all the syrup because there's access in the front and the back. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pollen patty in here and get that going. So they took this same amount of pollen patty last week, and I put it right there on that crack over where the queen was laying. So actually I'm giving them probably a third again more of what I gave them last week. So I'm going to just set that right there, press it in a little bit, and I'm going to leave that paper on so small hive beetle larvae can't get in from the top, and the bees will be able to protect that and get in here and feed on it from the sides in addition to the bottom. So I'm going to fill my syrup up here. So this is very light syrup. It's not quite 1 to 1, it's less, it's 1.5 to 1. So it's more representative of true nectar. And I'm just going to fill one side of this. To fill both of these up would be way too much for that week of a hive. And I'm being that it's this week, I got to really keep an eye on it. I got to watch this pollen patty for getting infested with the small hive beetle larva, because the small hive beetle larva can get down on the frames where the nectar is and start feeding and they'll run the bees out. So I saw Cayman Reynolds did a video where he was actually putting pollen patties on in the summertime, and he says everyone says don't do that, don't do that, and he used some Cayman swear word like horse feathers or poppycock or something like that. And he said that's a bunch of baloney. You can still put it on there. You just have to have a strong hive and make sure it doesn't get overrun. You know, and that's true. But you saw those small hive beetle larvae that were up in that feeder, right? So got to be careful with this. Got to keep an eye on it. Don't want to give them more than they can protect. So some of those capped cells need to start hatching out so the population starts growing in here. So for this feeder, I'm not going to add the inner cover. I'm just going to put the telescoping lid right on top of it. And that also helps secure those inner lids and keeps them from moving around, keep ants out. And I also noticed when you pick this up, some of those inner lids may be stuck to the bottom of your lids, so be ready for that. Not a big deal. So since I didn't find the queen, I'm going to put the dummy brick here. So hey dummy, this has a problem. Don't forget about it. Okay, that's it for this Hive 10. So gave them some pollen patty a little bit. It's protected. We got to follow up on this quickly and make sure we're not getting hive beetle infestations here with the larvae. They'll wipe out a hive and run them out of there, and we don't want to do that with that nice queen we've got from Wildflower Meadows. So the light sugar, I didn't give them the extra frames because they can't protect it. They don't have the population. She's laying good now, so 21 days from now we'll have way more bees in here than what you see, because there's at least probably a frame and a half of bees that are in there cooking. So that's it for the video. Give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Subscriber count's going really good, and I appreciate that from everyone. And we'll catch you on the next beekeeping video. Y'all take care.